So in the previous lecture, we discussed different types of audience, why SLA agreement is used, how we can deal with different audience based on their culture, beliefs, attitude, gender, how we can understand them so that we can market our product better. Today, we will understand what are the barriers to communication and how we can overcome these barriers to support the user as the customers. So we have multiple barriers. Barrier means the hurdles between you or your individual. As a business professional, what kind of hurdles you faced in approaching your customers or to market your product? So I think one of the most common barrier will be the technical barrier. How it occurs when the customers or individuals have lack knowledge of computings, they don't know how to use the IT systems, different specific technologies. They're unfamiliar with all of them. So as you sell your products online, not you don't have any physical store. So due to this technical barrier, maybe they are not educated enough. Maybe they belong to certain places that these internet or smartphones are not too much available, or they are not available. They are not aware how to use that online stores and things like that. So this can be a barrier for you and your customer because they don't have knowledge how to use this specific technologies or IT system. So they don't know. If we talk about your employees, maybe some of your employees don't know how the hardware software works or the process and the times if they encounter any technical issues. Like for example, a customer may know understand that what debugging means or why fixing a network configuration issue takes hours or what does it means to configure a network. So maybe we know that as a technical person that network configurations may take several hours and they don't know what does the debugging word means. Then there will be a lot of misunderstanding, frustration. There will be unrealistic expectation. For example, you might launch a software product or a tool, and it takes some time to configure. It takes some time to debug or fix their problem. So they don't understand, and it will break downs in communication. They will stop using your tools. Maybe they said that this software is not valuable for me, or this software is not solving my problem. So that can be a technical barrier between you and your customer. Now, the question is, if there is a technical barrier, then how we can overcome? Firstly, you can use simple language. Means you don't need to use the technical terms in everyday language that anyone can understand. Like for example, you got a customer. Let's suppose you are running a software store. You got a customer who wants a software for its organization, a very small business. So you start using the technical languages, I'm going to use the front end tools like this. We are going to debug your code in this way. We are using this IDE, your compiler. These are the supported libraries or framework. I'm going to use this framework. They have no concern with what kind of framework or languages that you are going to use. Their goal is just they want just a software that can help to support their business. So that's is why if you want to remove a technical barrier between you and your customer, you should know that how I can use this simple language. Then you should avoid using jargons. Means I told you that each and every industry have a specific language. Like in the tech industry, for each and every term we have a specific need. Like for following a specific rule, we call it as syntax. For debugging the code or finding the errors, we call it debugging. For totally interpreting the code, we call it compile. So these are the multiple terms that we used in our tech industry, or more multiple terms are there which a non-technical person will not easily understand. So we should avoid such kind of jargons. Like focus on the key point. I told you you don't need to explain what languages, tools, or techniques that you are going to use. Your purpose is just to explain the customer that what is the current situation or what kind of informed decisions that you are going to make, just in order to make their work done. Now you should set the realistic expectations about it. Means you have to clearly explain them how long it will take to investigate, or if there is any fault in the developed solution, how it long will take to debug the code. Most of the time, what happen if you are working as a software developer, even a small semicolon can take a lot of time to debug the code. So you have to clearly define, because some bugs are unexpected. We don't know how much time it will take. So if there is such kind of problem, you have to clearly define them, that I'm going to take this much time to debug your problem, so that if you give them a realistic timeline based on the complexity of the task they assign, like for example, they need a very complex system for their business, then it might take several months. So according to their set it goal, you have to give them the margin that in this timeline I am going to complete. Like for example, instead of you say that we are experiencing high latency due to the network cognition, they don't know what is the meaning of latency or cognition. So you can say that your internet connection is slow because there is a lot of traffic on the network. So this is how you can address a non-technical person. Like if we take another example, for example, if a system needs an update, so instead of you say that we are updating your system with a new patch, you can say that we need to install a software update to fix some bugs. And to improve the performance, it will take about 30 minutes. So in this way, you can explain each and every term in a non-technical way to your non-technical audience. Like if they encounter a hardware problem, so instead of saying the part that helps your computer cool down is broken, we'll need to replace it or stop your computer from overheating. So instead of, you can say that your CPU fan is faculty causing terminal throttling. So if you say this statement, they will don't understand. So instead of, you can say that computer cool downs is broken, I am going to replace it or stop it so that it will may not overheat. So in this way, by using this simple language, you can remove the technical barriers between you and your customers. And this is how they will trust you. They will give you more orders. You can complete their orders, you can satisfy your customer, or you can also expand your business. Then, just like the technical barriers, we also have the physical barriers, like the challenges that you face. It can be a geographical distance. Maybe you're working remotely with your clients. Mostly in the tech world, we work remotely with our clients through Fiverr. If you are working as a freelancer, you connect yourself with multiple peoples around the globe. So there can be challenges, like there can be a geographical distance, the time zone. Maybe they are in a different time zone and you are also in a different time zone. Then there can also be technical issues like poor connectivity, equipment failures, or there can be different environmental factors, like there can be distractions, noise. So if there are these factors, then there can be difficulties in scheduling the meetings. So these are the barriers that often arises in your remote or international work. So if such kind of problem arises in your international work, then you can may lose a lot of number of clients. Now your team members or clients may not share the same working hour. You know that they face issues like internet connectivity during calls, multiple problems they have to face. So how you will overcome if you are facing such kind of problems? Like diverse technologies, you can use video conferencing tools. You can use online collaboration platforms, Google services, so that you can reduce the impact of geographical distance. Means if you're using good conferencing tools that offers ex extra features to enhance the quality of the video, then it can be a good solution to remove that geographical distance barrier. Like we have multiple tools for collaboration, and they provide different extended features. Each and every tool have different specific feature. Then based on our specific requirements, we prefer different features, different softwares. Then be flexible. You should know how we are going to adjust the schedule just to accommodate time zones or when the customer is available. According to the availability of the next person or team member, you also take a note of their time zone. And according to their availability or time zone, you adjust the schedules so that there will not be any problem. Then you should plan ahead. Means you have to ensure that all of your participants are aware of the meeting. Means before the meeting, almost 3 or 4 hours you have to, or a day before, you have to notify each and every participant that we are going to have a meeting on this day or this time. You should make sure you're available. So you have to ensure that they are aware of that meeting. You have to confirm the availability in advance, whether they are going to be available on this time or not. So if they said you're not available, you will schedule another meeting in a on another day. Then before the meeting, you should test the technologies in advance. Like you have to check your internet connection. You have to check your software is working properly, like the collaboration tool that you are going to use. The device on which you are going to conduct the meeting is functioning properly or not. So these are the different factors that you will check before the meetings. Then to remove that environmental impact, you must have to find a quiet and suitable place, like a place where there is no background noise, there is no distraction, especially during the important communication. So you can have your own small cabin where there is no distraction or noise so that you can communicate with your clients easily. Now we will take some examples. Like for example, you are coordinating a project with someone in a different time. So you share our online calendar to find the mutual availability time for the meeting. Now you might say, since you are in New York and I am in London, how about we schedule the meeting at 3 p.m. your time, which is 8 p.m. for me. So in this way, if you want to coordinate a project with someone, then according to their time zone and your time zone, using an online calendar, you can set a time for the meeting. Now, if a background noise is an issue during a remote meeting, now what you will do? You will find a quieter place. You can use the noise cancelling headphones that will cancel the noise around you. So, for instance, like you can say that I will move to a quieter room to reduce the distraction during this call. Maybe during this call, there can be a distraction or noise uh, in the background. Suddenly, you are not aware of that noise. But to avoid that, you might mute that call for a minute and say that, let me find a quieter place and then I will continue with that call. Then the third one is before an important video conference, you just run a quick test just to check whether your internet connection is stable, the video conference tools is working properly. You can also say that I have tested the software and everything looks good. So we shouldn't have any connection problem during the. So these are the precautions that you can take before any meeting. So how to set a perfect time zone for both of you, like your customer and you. How you can reduce the noise behind the background, like you can use the noise cancelling headphones, or to ensure that there is no issue, then we can go with that noise cancelling headphones. Then there can be a language barrier. This is the most common issue. Like there are two people who are from two different countries, and you have to communicate with them. Now you both of you don't understand each other's national language. So that's why we say that the English is the business language. For business purpose, all over the world, English is used. So the basic idea to remove that language barrier can be to use this common language so that there will be no problem. There is another language like the technical language, means the jargons that you are going to use. Maybe the person is not a technical person, they just want to work, they just want to give you an order for a specific software, but have no idea about the tech world. So just to maybe these barriers can lead to misunderstanding if they, let's suppose we say that the person sitting on the other hand don't know the business language and also just know his national language, and you don't understand their national language, you know how to speak English. So what you will do, how to communicate with them, you can use a language translator which can translate their words into English so that you can understand, and your words into their language in which they can understand. So in this way, there will be no misunderstanding between both of you, and you can easily collaborate with your international clients, or whether it is a team, or you can discuss the complex technical subjects with each other. Now, we will take some examples here. Like, instead of saying we will push the code to the production server, you can say that we will upload the final version of the program to make it live. This way, that a non-technical person will easily understand. Now, if the client doesn't understand a technical term like bandwidth, they don't know what is bandwidth. So you can explain bandwidth is like the width of a highway. The more lanes, the more cars can go through at once. So similarly, the more bandwidth, the more data can flow through your connection at the same time. So in this way, by using a real world example that can relate to that specific term, you can explain. So if someone don't know the meaning of work, then you can say that you can relate it with a mistake so that they can easily got the point. Then like when someone speaking to someone with limited English proficiency, as I said, they don't have a good understanding of English. You can avoid these slangs or idiomatic expression. Instead of saying like, let's circle back to this later, you can say that let's talk about this again in our next meeting. So instead of saying shoot me a message, you can say that text me when you are free. You can use, instead of using that proverbs or idioms, you can just use simple words so that the other person can easily understand. Now, as I mentioned that if client is unfamiliar with the technical details, they don't know different details, but they want to understand the product or the software, that how it will looks like after completion. You can use the visual diagram. You can use the flow charts to explain how the network setup works, saying this part connects to the server and this has to manage your internet traffic. So in this way, you can connect with them easily. Then there is another kind of barrier, that is the cultural barrier. If you have any questions till now, let me know. The next we have the cultural barriers. Like cultural barriers stems from different in social customs. Their norms are different, their values, their belief system, there are different stereotypes. So these differences can affect the communication styles. They can affect your decision making, the attitude towards the hierarchy, and even the non-verbal cues, like your body language or the eye contact. So this can may lead to misunderstandings when one person cultural expectation clash with those of the others. So when you are working in the international work environment. So let's understand this first with some examples. Like if you are working with a team from Japan, where silence is often seen as a sign of respect, like in Japan, if you are silent or quiet, then it shows the respect and reflection. Don't rush to fill pause in communication or conversation. Like instead, allow time for your counterparts to think and respond. Like saying, please take your time to consider my suggestion. Then, when you work with the people from a culture that values punctuality, who are very punctual, then what? Like in German, you should be punctual. So if you are not punctual, then it will show that you have no respect towards the work environment for them. So that is a sign of disrespect in their culture. So you have to ensure that whenever you start exactly at 10 a.m., you should be at 10 a.m. available. If you're not punctual enough to follow their schedules or schedules, then uh, you will leave a bad impression on them. Like if we take another example, if you're working with a team from a culture that prefers indirect communication, like in China, you need to interpret their response carefully. They don't like the direct communication. First, you have to interpret their response, then you have to say something. So this is an interesting idea. Like this might means that they have concerns, but are being polite. Means you should respond saying that I love to hear more about your thoughts. Please feel free to share any concerns. So these are the different cultural barriers among different peoples. Like in Japan, they prefer silence as the sign of respect, whereas in different Asian countries, if you are silent more than 1 hour, the next person will think that they are angry with me. Similarly, if you are not punctual in according to Germans, then you are not good at working or you have no good working habits. So similarly, like in China, as I mentioned, that they prefer the indirect communication to understand first and then to respond later. Like if you are unsure about the best way to address cultural difference, you can ask open-ended questions like, how do you usually prefer to handle meetings or disputes? So you don't know the other person's psyche or which culture they. So you can ask openly, like, how do you prefer to handle the meeting? How you will make your decision in your team just to avoid any conflict. Now the question is how we can overcome these barriers, how we can overcome the cultural barriers. Like you can take time to understand the customs and values of the peoples you are communicating with. Firstly, like for example, your client may belongs to China. You should know how I will communicate, how I am going to communicate with Chinese people. So you will understand the basics about their culture and then you will going to communicate with them. So if you are unsure about their culture, you can ask questions like if you don't understand a particular practice or norm, you can politely ask for the clarification that I am confused here. This point is not clear to me. Can you explain this to me? You can show respect and sensitivity, like you can demonstrate an open-minded and respectful attitude towards the cultural difference. Like most of clashes happen when you don't show respect towards your client's culture. Like they prefer silence as respect, and you don't respect their silence or you don't respect their culture, then it can leave a bad taste in their mouth about you. Then you have to adopt different communication styles. Means you should know how to approach based on the cultural backgrounds of the person you are communicating with. Like you can consider the non-verbal communications. Means the I think in the previous lecture we have discussed the body language, how with eye contacts you can communicate with the other person. With gestures, you maybe interpret the different cultures across them. So this is how you can come across these culture barriers. Okay. So any questions till now, let me know. We have discussed multiple culture, different barriers that you may encounter during communicating with your clients, with your customers, and we discussed different techniques, how we can overcome that. So let me know.